Hey guys, and welcome back to another Remembering Forgotten Memories episode. Yes, I know I look like shit, not a stitch of makeup on. We're just going with it. Anyway, so this admittedly isn't a super happy Remembering Forgotten Memories episode. It might even be triggering for some, and if that's so, go ahead and click out. It's totally okay. I won't hold it against anybody. But I also feel it's important to use my platform for good if it might resonate with somebody who might also be dealing with something that they might not have realized falls into that category and that there is help available for it. So anyway, we'll be talking about OCD and eating disorders today. So this goes way back to like age 8, 9, somewhere in there, and it started innocently enough in a way that nobody ever could have predicted would like turn into this, and I still don't even quite understand why. It was the weirdest fucking thing. But I went to the county fair that year with my dad, which we did every year, and that year they had a dangerous creatures exhibit, which appealed to my interests as both a science nerd and somebody who just like loves animals of all kinds. And I mean, I don't regret having gone to it at all. I had no way of knowing my brain was going to do something stupid with it, but there was no danger to the public. Right? Like, they were all in enclosures. So, I mean, it was things like scorpions, rattlesnakes. They had, like, an aquarium with, like, dangerous fish. Like, and shit like that. Like, all kinds, all manner of them. It was a pretty big exhibit, actually. And it was really interesting and really cool. And you'd, like, read the little placards about each one and all. And it was interesting and educational. I loved that. And it's not like I got scared at it. It's not like I went home and obsessed over it. No, it was like this sneaky thing a few months later that, like, out of nowhere, out of the bowels of the back of my mind, came forward and turned into a whole-ass OCD thing, which, I mean, I guess, in hindsight, that part doesn't make sense, but just the fact that I developed OCD makes perfect sense, because when you're in a situation where you have basically literally zero control over any fucking thing in your life, I mean, you guys know my damn life story at this point. I didn't have an easy childhood. It's like, I was being molested by my uncle, by my mom's friend. My parents were both in very active addiction to really hard stuff. Don't worry, they're not anymore. They've been clean since 2003. I mean, it was a fairly abusive environment at that point in time, though. It's not anymore. Again, don't trip. But, you know, it was not easy. And there was more than that, too, but we don't need to rehash all of it here. But anyway, so, I mean, it makes perfect sense that a kid who felt like they had no control over anything, their brain would come up with some kind of situation where it felt like it had control over something, even if it was veering sideways in a direction that is not productive in any kind of way and is actually hurting things, but it feels like some semblance of control of something. So I guess it makes some kind of sense. But anyway, sometime that fall, I started getting to this point where I started obsessively counting the number of times I chewed my food. And unless I chewed it exactly 32 times, I could not swallow it without fear that I would die. That sounds stupid and ridiculous and insane, and it is a little bit, but, like, this was very much a thing that felt legit in that moment. It was like, well, I mean, if all I have to do to stay safe is just count the number of times I chew, then I'm gonna do that. And it didn't seem that weird, because my mom kind of had a thing about chewing her food a certain number of times, too. Although she said she'd been taught it in school, that it was the proper way to eat. Like, I don't know what the 60s were, man. Like, they had to have been weird. But anyway, so I guess she kind of probably had some degree of it, too. But whatever. She probably mentioned it to me at some point. It may be what planted the seed in my head. That would be bad enough, right? And for those of you who know, like, my actual private email address, no, the 32 has nothing to do with that. I just realized it as I said it out loud. I was like, oh, wow, that's actually kind of weird, but no, there is no connection between the two. It was because I wanted 64 and couldn't have it, so I just cut it in half. But anyway, this isn't about that. So, that all would be bad enough, right? But then it began to shift, and I started adding more things to it. Because now it wasn't just count the chews a certain number of times, right? Now it was count the chews, but also go through this mental checklist that my brain came up with out of God knows where, of what I perceived to be like the most dangerous down to the least dangerous, and only then could I swallow the food. Because if I didn't, if I fucked it up anywhere, A, I would have to start over, and B, if I swallowed it anyway, I would clearly die because the food would be poisoned. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. I'm aware how bat crap that is. But try telling that to the kid who is convinced in the moment that it's real, right? So now, I'm having to count all the way to 32, and possibly do it to 64 if I had to start over because I lost track. But then I also had to this isn't the exact order. I'm actually intentionally throwing it so I don't possibly re-trigger anything back off, but like, something along the lines of like, and don't come at me in the comments saying, actually, that order isn't correct. Don't. Just fucking don't. Anyway, so, the order was something along the lines of, just for the sake of giving an example, lionfish, pufferfish, poison dart frog, black mamba snake, rattlesnake scorpion, wasp, tarantula, goldfish. We'll just call it that, right? And the goldfish was thrown in at the end because a goldfish can't hurt you, therefore signaling the food is now safe to swallow. Now I can swallow it. If I fucked up any part of this ritual, I would have to start the whole thing over and do it again until I got it right, or until it got so gross and my jaw was so tired that I would just spit the bite out. Can we tell which kid took dance growing up? And do it over and over and over again till you get it right. Yeah, that's... Anyway. Fuck. Anyway, between that and piano lessons, gee, I don't know. But anyway, so, this obviously started making eating quite the ordeal, and my mom noticed right quick that something was going on. So, I mean, I kind of tried to cover my ass. I was like, I'm just counting the number of times I chew like you do, so I don't choke. And she initially bought it. Initially. But she kept paying attention to me and watching me closer, and eventually she's like, you're lying. You look scared every time you eat. What's actually going on? And there is no way of explaining that to anyone outside my head in any kind of a way that would make sense, and I knew that on some level. And yet I did not want to own up what it was at all, so I kept just maintaining I'm trying not to choke. I'm very concerned about choking. Now, this is bad enough happening at dinner time when you basically, theoretically, could have all the time in the world to finish it. But now keep in mind, this was any ingestion of any food at any time. So, getting ready for school in the morning. Oh, having to go through this on every bite, and now suddenly I'm late for school every fucking morning? Or just not eating? And then at school, when it's an even more regimented time frame to eat in for lunch. Trying to make that shit fit in 15 minutes? That was the first thing I threw out the window. I was like, I'm just gonna not bother. I'm just gonna skip it. I'm not even gonna eat. It's fine. And then started skipping breakfast. And then by the time dinner rolled around, my stomach would be hurting so bad from not eating and starving myself all day that I was convinced I would throw up because my stomach hurt so bad. So then I didn't want to eat that either. And an eating disorder was born. It's like, I'm actually very phobic of throwing up, too, and that outweighed the fear of anything else even more so. And I mean, you know, I have good reason to be phobic of that one, because I do have a cyclical vomiting disorder. If I start, my brain does not know how to turn it off in an appropriate fashion. So, you know, I have reason to be phobic of that. But what I didn't realize was I was creating the scenario where my stomach was fucked in the first place to feel like that. It wasn't because of the food. But I was so scared I would throw up, I just wouldn't eat anything a good majority of the time. And this is why there's very precious few photos of me from about, let's say, 10 to about 16, where this was at its worst. And every so often, those of you who follow my socials know I'll occasionally trot out the worst one from about age 12, where I look so skeletal I look like I'm about to die any minute. It's bad. But I occasionally trot that one out to show that eating disorders can hit surprisingly young, so, you know, don't just write people off because, oh, you can't have one at that. Yes, you fucking can, actually. You can ridiculously young, and I've heard of kids having it younger than that. But the fear was never about getting fat. The fear was around the fear of throwing up, but was also around the fear I had invented in my own head that it was poisoned unless I did the ritual. And then an additional element popped up. If there was so much as anything in my line of sight anywhere within the room, that could be deemed poisonous just by virtue of seeing it. In my head, it was the same as having consumed it and now I'm gonna die. I literally cannot eat in the same room as that thing. Like, let's say it was a picnic and there was like a can of like wasp spray somewhere, which is a very reasonable thing to have and to have out at easy convenience. Yeah, couldn't eat because it's there, and therefore I'm convinced that I must have eaten it at some point and not remembered it somehow magically, and now I'm poisoned and I'm going to die. I will be honest, that is the one leg of this OCD thing I have never 100% shaken. I have still not gotten to where I can cope with that. I have to, like, at least turn myself away from wherever the thing is so I am not seeing it, therefore I can just pretend it's not there. So I've found a way to cope with it, but I never managed to totally get over the hurdle with that one. But anyway, yeah, so now we have this two-pronged eating disorder / OCD situation that is getting worse by the day, right? And eventually I found my ass in therapy over it. Shocker. But, like, it was needed. It was very needed. And if this is something that applies to you, ERP is going to be the thing that saves you. So it's exposure response prevention. So basically you get exposed to your trigger over and over and over again, and they force you to not do the ritual you have come up with around that thing to show you, just through repeated actions, that the world will not end, you will not die, catastrophe will not strike. None of that is going to happen because you didn't do that thing. You're gonna be fine. You'll survive. And eventually your brain does start to accept that. But it is the scariest fucking thing when you start going into it, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying as somebody, like, once you develop OCD, unfortunately you deal with OCD the rest of your life to varying degrees at different points in your life, but at least once you learn the tools to deal with it, it gets a lot easier to manage. So, I mean, yeah, I very much still have things that I struggle with, but I at least know how to deal with them just through repeated exposure that it's going to be okay. Had I not gone through that, I truly believe I would not still be here. I'm pretty positive I would have starved to death, because I don't think I could have gotten to a point where I would have been able to consume enough food to just keep going, even. Which is a scary thought when I think about that, of just how close I came to that fucking line over something so stupid for no real good goddamn reason other than my brain just going out sideways on a limb here, thinking somehow it was helping. It thought it was somehow keeping me safe, even though it was literally the thing that was actively hurting me. Yeah, that. It's kind of fucked up when you stop and think about it, but I swear to you there is hope, and it is very much a thing you can learn to live with and be fine. But in case you have ever dealt with something that is similar like that, it doesn't have to be the exact scenario that I laid out, but in case you have any things like that, where it's ritualistic and you know it's a problem, but you've kind of just learned to live with it, I would really strongly consider looking into ERP therapy, because it does help a lot. Now, granted, there's more therapies than just that they'll probably also offer you, and you should probably take them too, but that is the one in particular that will help you the most with OCD. Like, I stand here before you as proof of that one. I know many people who've been in that same boat, and who have also had success with that same therapy. But it's just so weird when I think back on it. I'm like, I was such a strange child. Like, I stood no chance at turning into a normal adult, so, like, all of you who find me so fucking weird, you know, I think I have good damn reason to be weird, you know, and I'm fine with the fact that I'm weird. I like my weirdness at this point, but yeah, that particular one, it's just one weird what the fuck chapter in my life where it's like, there's no way of explaining that to people in a way that sounds normal. Now, there was an offshoot of that unfortunately did manifest that I've not 100% gotten past. I'm still working on it. Like, later on, in my later teens, early 20s, okay, so I had learned to conquer that portion around the eating. But now I developed another one where I would, like, eat away from people, because I felt like if I tried to talk while eating a meal, I would choke. And that, I mean, I've unfortunately seen firsthand that it does happen with me a lot. It doesn't take much to trigger that off from happening, so it's easier to just bring myself to a calm situation where there is, like, nothing that is distracting me from actually swallowing correctly. I don't know why I struggle with that, but I fucking do. And I mean, for a lot of years, that also worried my mom of, oh, what, are you throwing away the food now where we can't say, no, I'm actually eating it. See, I'm, like, the weight is staying on, like, it's not that. And trying to explain that in a way that doesn't sound insane. It's like, I used to take it to my room all the time, and I mean, when my OCD is really bad, I'll still go through streaks of taking it to my room. I think there was a rumor here on YouTube for a while, people thinking that I must be kept locked in my room because they would see me even, like, eat on streams, like, taking my meals in my room. No, I was the one putting myself there. No one externally was putting me here. They'd very much prefer I don't do that. But sometimes my head convinces me that I need that until I get a little more stable again, where I can slowly move my way back towards closer to being in the situation again. But here's my thing. Even in periods where I can eat at the table with other people, I cannot talk. Period. Like, it is all over for me. If I talk, it will happen. I will choke, and then I won't want anything to do with the rest of the meal every time. So, you know, that kind of fucks up any chance at a normal social life ever, basically. But that's okay. I didn't really have one anyway. But, yeah, it's an annoying thing to deal with, because it's just like, I have tried so hard to assimilate into some kind of normalcy around eating, but that's, like, the one where I still struggle. And yes, I have tried that, like, drink thickener shit before to see if maybe that was no, it didn't really make a difference. It doesn't matter how small the bites are. It does not fucking matter. It's like basically actually, no. I was gonna say the only time it doesn't happen is if it's super soft, but no, I've had it happen with soup before, so it's like, it just, like, unfortunately, I will inhale like that and then I'm choking and fucking A. It is a problem. But it's like, I also don't know what to do about it. I have gone through every fucking battery of tests to make sure there's not a physical problem with my throat or something, or my esophagus that is causing that. There is not. So, it's psychological, whatever it is, but I've never managed to get over that one. I can get to where I'm at least sitting there, but I can't talk and, like, swallow like a normal person. And I swear to God, if anyone turns that into a dirty comment, you're getting instantly banned. Don't do it. This is not the time or the place. But, yeah, that. I'm not sure if that is also an OCD thing or its own separate thing. It feels separate to me, but I feel like that one is more anxiety-based than OCD-based. And I realize that oftentimes those two go in tandem. They are like a terrible twosome who like to travel together, and yes, I do struggle from both. Again, with damn good reason. But it's one of those weird quirks that I just have to fucking live with, kind of, because it's like, I do the best I can with it, but there's only so much I can really do with that before it's just like, okay, yeah, now you are actively struggling because you're trying to force through that one. There is a certain point where there's a limitation where it's like, okay, cost, like, pros, cons, analysis here, like, where can I get, like, the most benefit and the least negative out of the situation? That seems to be, like, if I'm at least in the room, or if, I'm just sitting with them at the table and just don't talk, like, at least my family knows it's not because I'm being rude, it's not because I'm being a fucking ice queen, it's if I'm trying to eat, I literally cannot speak. If I'm going to say something, I have to, like, put the food away for a bit, say my piece, then resume. It's like, I know, you're not supposed to talk with food in your mouth anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. It's just, like, just trying to mentally keep up with interacting in a conversation as I eat, a lot of times, is enough to trigger it off, even when it's not a moment where I'm supposed to be speaking. But my head's already trying to come up with what I'm gonna say, and it, like, it jumps into, like, as if I were doing that thing. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But it's like, I've also never found a way to conquer that one. If anybody knows how to conquer that one, that would be fantastic. So, I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, if any of this resonated, there you go. There is help available for you out there. You just have to be open to taking it.